Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you're watching us from. May I hear a hello? Hello. I see there are a couple of people here. You're very much welcome. In Nairobi, we say karibu sana. You're very much welcome to today's live. Today, we are taking a deep dive in conversations around the boardroom. What is the boardroom case for workplace happiness? So, modern research shows that employee happiness is a powerful drive of business success. Companies with happy, engaged employees see higher productivity, profitability, and retention. So, this as a result, there is lower absenteeism and turnover than their peers. So, this masterclass will give us clear, concrete metrics and case studies and strategies to make happiness workplace program really viable. That's the drive for today. Yay! I already see love in the air. That's what we are about today. And we begin from something we always say at Happiness Studies Academy: reality, reality, reality. So, where we are at, happiness is just taken as a nice to have, a soft conversation in organizations. It's just that any other business, it's not really at the topic of business strategy. So what we are doing with amplifying the workplace happiness program, it's making it be seen for what it really is. So that's our reality. Our reality is that happiness is not a pack. Happiness is not a vibe. Happiness is not a motivational poster on the wall. This is a boardroom conversation that we are embracing. And as we take a deep dive into this, I have a question for you. Wherever you work at, how happy are you? Really? On a scale of 1 to 5. This is not the answer you would give your boss. It's not the answer you would post on LinkedIn or on those happiness survey that are also part of the workplace happiness program. This is a real question. How do you feel? How happy are you? I'm waiting for a response. One of us has to say something on the chat bar. I need to know I'm not alone here. I am in good company, in good hands. So I would be happy to hear. How happy are you? And no, your employer is not here. This is a safe space. On a scale of 1 to 5, how happy are you? Okay, I'll keep going as I wait. I'm seeing no comments so far. I hope my chat bar is working. At some point, I will confirm if it's working through the other phone. Cool. I am looking forward to that. How happy are you? So, research shows that companies with high engaged employees see higher productivity, profitability, and we're not talking about small margins. These are profits of about 23% higher on the normal scale, and also 18% higher productivity. This is one of the master classes I get to cover where we check on how is the productivity, and we covered it on last week's master class when we were talking about the return on investment of workplace happiness program. So let that sink in. That 23%, you can imagine if a company is delivering revenue of 1 billion, when you increase that by 23%, that is 1.23 billion. So this is not a mindset conversation anymore. Happiness is a money conversation. And this brings me to my favorite part of the conversation, which is the happiness multiplier effect. When you have happy employees, it touches everything across. So an employee will show up fully, not faking up sick leaves. So you will notice a decline in the number of requests of sick leaves. They create better work. I always say we all have our creative genius, and we were all born knowing why we came here. And what happens if someone is not happy, they actually won't show you what they're capable of. And that's how we end up with quiet quitters. We have ghost workers, people just not delivering, and they know they can, but they won't because they are unhappy. And of course, the customer, first numero uno customer, is always the employee. So if the employee is happy, that means automatically our customer out here will be happy. And again, they stay longer, the longevity of an employee in the organization. And they're very innovative, very creative. And the beauty about companies right now is when you're part of the machine is not established. You're part of the creative system. So it's now beyond just one investment. It's a multiplier across your entire organization. And that is what a strategy is all about. So now getting to make this practical for us, from where a CEO, a C-suite member sits, it's always about show me the numbers. So how does this look like? So we're going to take a deep dive into return on investment. And the first part of this, of course, is the turnover. Every time an employee leaves, you feel the cost of it. Sometimes up to 1.5 times their annual salary, and that can be quite expensive. So if you can manage to reduce your turnover by 5%, you're already saving hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions. I have seen this. I've been in this environment, and hiring is quite expensive. It's quite expensive for companies. Again, with absenteeism, if there is a reduction in absenteeism, absolutely what happens is there is work continuity. And when there's absenteeism, you feel the pain of it, because sometimes getting to find someone to cover up for that, and again, the delegation process. If they're an all-round employee that are needed, they tie across different departments, the gap is felt. And of course, by the end of the day, the impact of that is felt to the whole company. And again, productivity is where everything is: input vis-a-vis output, garbage in, garbage out. It's just as simple as that. So if there is quality time spent by the employee at the workplace, automatically revenue follows, then engagement to profit. There's a direct link about how people feel at work and how much money the company makes. So of course, when engagement increases, profit automatically increase. And so this takes us to how can every dollar invested in well-being be a result of 5 times return because of investing in the people. And this we are going to cover a bit later, where we talk about the main objection that a C-suite you face from the board about the cost, who is catering for the cost of happiness and well-being for the organization. And we'll get to cover that shortly. Right? We're all following, we are all flowing. I see thumbs up in the air. That's what this is about. We're talking about happiness. So we have to be happy people as we're taking a deep dive right into 8. That's what's up. Good energy in the air. And the result of all this, the 5 items that we have tackled around how does this look like from a return on investment, millions get saved and generated from small intentional changes. So One of the companies we'll cover today from our case study on happiness is SAP, and you might know it as the largest tech company. And so, what they do is they get to track employee well being as a core business metric. And what they found is that just a 1% increase in the well-being index leads to tens of millions in additional profit. So what one of the things we are doing at the Workplace Happiness Program is liaising with the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, how we can introduce a happiness metric across. And now looking that there are already existing companies that are keen on this, how does that look like? Like tens of millions in additional profit. How is that? And then we get another case study of a company like Cisco. So Cisco introduced well-being support and mindfulness programs. What automatically happened is last week I talked about how employees fake sick leaves all the time. So automatically there are fewer sick days, there's higher retention, and millions saved. Then there is another company called SAS. SAS did build a culture where people actually want to stay. Culture dictates everything. Around 4% when the industry average is over 20%. That is what happened to their turnover. Like that's 5 times, 500% reduction of turnover from 20 to 4%. How stable can that be? Like the savings, first of all, you generate from that. And this brings us to the question, does happiness work? This is proven. It is actually working. So why are we not investing more in it? And right, taking a deep dive into what I mentioned, that is always the objection. When you are a leader, the first question that comes to mind is we have budget constraints. So how are we ever going to have a happiness program being onboarded in our company? And that's why we are here to challenge that today. You're already paying for the disengagement, but the absenteeism, low engagement, quitting, especially the quiet quitting, I think it's the most expensive one. So you're already paying for it. You're paying for it through the burnout, lost productivity. So the real question is, can we afford happiness? It's more about, can we afford the cost of unhappiness? That is the main conversation. Can we afford the cost of unhappiness? And the other part is happiness can feel soft for an organization. And we highlighted the same last week where the group CEO of Nation Media Group was one of our keynote speakers for the International Day of Happiness. And when he said he's going to a happiness event, he was asked, what is there to be happy about? Because it doesn't land well with so many people. There's a person who can just tell about happiness and you irritate all their energetics to the worst cause. So one thing about data, it doesn't lie. And we just looked at data. Data is validating everything that we are talking about that happens in organizations. So now happiness is just not soft. It is now strategic. Profit margins are not soft. Turnover costs are not soft. Absenteeism is not soft. So where do we go from here? We start very, very simple. When we get the workplace happiness program in an organization, we start with where we are. We measure what is working, what is already existing, because you can't implement without first assessing the environment. And one of the things I train is on self mastery, and I cover it in some of my books. How do you get to go through a process of change management. And one of the key items to look at is habit installation protocol, constructive destruction phase. So, of course, when you're doing this, it is felt by every employee when you're making changes in the organization. So, there will be that disruptiveness, and it's for a good cause. Then, after that, there comes the installation. And after the installation, the integration happens. So as we measure where we are, we get to listen to everyone. And this is why we'll be sharing the happiness metrics, engagement, talking with everyone and having small pilot initiatives. Then from there, we get to track results as we are getting into the implementation phase. And of course, the one thing about happiness, it's good energy. So it blooms, it blossoms. And so from this, we'll get to scale and see if we start today, today is April 9th, 2026. By April 9th, 2027, what has been the trajectory of the organization after implementing this and looking again at that in the year 2028. So this is a long-term goal of tracking results of what we are implementing, because data-driven happiness, that is what we are doing here. We are tracking everything, how it is progressing, and where can we make adjustments. So as you're doing this as an organization, the best part to understand is your greatest asset is actually your people. And when your people are thriving, your business thrives. It's just how it works. So we are getting into the part where we are leaving the traditional way of running organizations, where the main focus was efficiency, control, very fixated mindset, to now flexibility as we understand human potential. You can't box employees. Employees are very, very exponential humans. So that is what is currently happening. Neuroplasticity, we're evolving at a very high rate. So who I was yesterday is not who I will be tomorrow. But the organizations have the same systems that were operating 20, 30 years from now, still being used to run the organization. And so there's a radical call for change in everything that we are doing in organizations. So looking at all these companies that have implemented the well-being and happiness in their organizations, the more cases of Deloitte, Procter and Gamble, getting to look into what is the impact of this. And there is a sportswear brand called On. Even them, they have shown really good percentage growth trajectory on their profits out of having well-being projects onboarded as part of their organization. So this is very validating for organizations across. And this brings us to challenging the norm in organizations. And it's a tough call for us as leaders, as the CEOs, the C-suite team, the founders. How are you nurturing your employee well-being? Because that is where results lie. That is where great productivity, great results that are rewarding come out of. So we get to win this path together, leaving behind the mindset of scarcity, either or. It's the genius approach of and abundance mindset that both can coexist. We can have both happening abundantly. So both can coexist. We can have happiness, we can have profits, and the company gets to bloom and get great recognition within and without. Because what we'll be doing with the workplace happiness program, it's over and beyond just the company. It's how are you being viewed out here? Like, can you be a top recommendation because you have introduced and implemented the workplace happiness program, and results can be shown for that in everything that you're getting to do as a company. Yeah, that's me taking a moment of living in the moment. As we always say, happiness is in the present moment. It is right here as we are handling this happiness masterclass. And it's so great to challenge everything and show that we have our houses in order. So countries like Finland are a step ahead. We have United Arab Emirates, which has a Ministry of Happiness. We have Bhutan, which measures happiness as the status, how we have our gross national product, gross national domestic product, they have gross national happiness. So that's what children get to learn from a very tender age. And that's why I'm very intentional right now in Kenya. And of course, the book is also available in Amazon to challenge what is available here. Can we introduce children to the concept of happiness as early as now, such that 10 years from now, when they're onboarding themselves into new organizations, they challenge it. They're like, I have grown knowing happiness is a critical thing for me. So why is your organization not offering that? Why can't I see a happiness metric in your organization? Because it's critical for me as an employee. So change begins with us. And I always say a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. So we kick it from here and with confidence to deliver the best results. Thank you for being here. In case you have any question, please drop it at the chat bar and I will respond to it just before I wind up. Yes, today's masterclass is short and sweet because founders, leaders, C-suites, they like things when they are short and sweet, crisp. We don't need to stay here for an hour to pass the concept home. The concept is home on a language that is best understood by what are the profitability rates, how do we get to grow margins, how do we get to grow productivity, how do we get to grow profitability, how do we get to grow happiness. And that is the most important part, understanding our metrics and showing up in that radiant energy of delivering the best results. I'm feeling happy. I feel like making a happy dance as we wind up. Maybe that's what I will be doing for these master classes because they're about happiness. We end the master classes with a happy signal, happy note. It's only that I can't turn on music for here. It's copyright issue with YouTube if you play music. So we just snap it. Snap it. I see no questions. So I appreciate you for being here. And anyone that will be watching this, you can always drop any questions you have on the chat bar, and I'm happy to respond to them. You're welcome to reach out and let's get into business. Let's get to onboard the workplace happiness program in your organization. And we'll be on the right side of the future. The future is here. The future is the present. The future is with us today. Enjoy the rest of your day, night, evening, afternoon. As always, with Happy Human, it's not a goodbye. It's a see you in the next masterclass, and it will be a very exciting one. So tune in, same time, 7 p.m. every Thursday for East African time, 12 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. That is New York. That's noon. Yay! Catch you on the next one. Bye.